Good evening. I'm going to do a quick mic check. Hopefully, the intro played correctly. I did get a little couple of bars here. It is nice to see some of you here. I was afraid I'd be talking to myself coming on so late. I know it's not my ordinary time slot. I no longer do the really late stuff. But I am really glad that you're all here because I keep canceling this particular subject or lawsuit or just controversy, all of the above. Mm. And I just want to cross it off. I really feel bad when I tell you I'm going to do something and then I just don't do it. I don't want to be one of those people. And I try really hard not to be. But, life and stuff and, things happen. And I'm always going to be honest about it. Um, but tonight, what I have for you, get ready to groan or get ready to find out everything you didn't want to know about things you didn't want to know about things that are just going to, if you're anything like me, the reason I'm bringing this to you is I can't just deal with this by myself. This one nags at me. You know that word? Nag, like nag, 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 like something is just scratching at the back of your brain, little things. That would be this one. We're going to talk about baby reindeer. Now, true story, I could have been talking about baby reindeer anyway because I did watch the series. I was blown away by the series. It brought up so many issues. I thought it was very well done. Some of you may not be familiar with it. So let me just I'll just give you a brief what it is. All right. Um It's considered a black comedy, suspense, and based on a true story. It's written by Richard Gatt, and it's somewhat autobiographical. It's his like a one man show. It is actually adapted from an autobiographical play that he had put on prior. Um, he's from the UK. Um, in it, he characterizes himself as a comedian, which he is, and a writer and producer of this. And he talks about being stalked. And he also talks about human conditions. And I'll be honest, what I really loved about it, and I don't want to give too much of it away, but we're going to have to because we have to talk about the lawsuit and all the drama surrounding it. So I apologize to any of you that haven't seen it that want to see it. But I don't think me talking about it is going to take away from the impact of you watching it. I do recommend it is on Netflix and a couple of other places. Netflix produced it. It's a Netflix series. I'm hoping it gets more widely available to others. It was released just this April, and it was released to critical acclaim. It is one of their top shows. It's one of the top shows anywhere. And it deals with identifying sexuality. It deals with sexual assault. It deals with abuse. It deals with stalking. It deals with mental illness, harassment, human frailty. Um, you know, basically in the whole thing, everyone was just really real. And there are parts of this that all of you may, no matter if you've ever been in a situation like this, will relate to in some way, or even just be interested enough and astounding enough to understand the way they portray it on what it could be like to be in a situation like that. And they do it. Here's the thing. I love Charlie Brooker, right? And he's kind of like uses technology to tell the what if stories of human nature, right? How human nature could or could not be the best or worst thing in the world. Um, you know, in a nutshell. This story does the same thing, but not like in your face. I will admit, there are plenty of really uncomfortable scenes. There are uncomfortable situations. There are things you don't really want to know, but they all kind of ring true. and they all kind of ring like a aha, or let me think about that. And when I talk about that scratching at the back of your head, that nagging, this show, above all of the shows that I have watched and read about, I do a lot of legal reading. I admit it, nerd here, reading every day a legal brief about something somewhere. Somebody did something to somebody and somebody else got pissed about it. And this is how we're legally going to solve it or not. That's my thing. I enjoy doing that over coffee. But I can't leave baby reindeer alone. I can't. Every day I'm looking for more about it. I'm searching for more to try to understand what's going on here. Um, because there are so many different issues. So if you haven't seen it, I do recommend that you go ahead and do it. It will help you understand some of the issues that we're going to talk about here. But still, the issues are going to be the issues anyway. And so we're going to be able to talk about it anyway. And before I even get all into it, hey, B. Hey, Mousy, Craven, Mark. Oh, hi, Mark. Mark, I'm always glad you're here. I am. It's like, you keep me on my toes. Craven, you too. I would recommend, yes, I would definitely agree, Mark, that Baby Reindeer is 1000% better than Baby Shark. If I have to have something stuck in my head, I am very glad it's going to be Baby Reindeer. As uncomfortable that is, because I haven't been able to compartmentalize everything, put it where it needs to be, like label the file folders, put them in the drawer and shut the drawer. I've not been able to do that with this, not with the series, and not with all the controversy, and totally not with the lawsuit either. Every part of it is nagging at the back of my brain. Every single part of it. Okay. And I think soon you're gonna understand. Juju, I'm convinced. I'll watch it. Okay, if you have Netflix, go ahead. Okay. Does being trapped in a controlling and manipulative, mentally abusive marriage count? Absolutely, Craven. If it counts to relating to this, yes. Any kind of abuse. It doesn't have to be physical, mental, any kind of violating of somebody's personal boundaries in space. You will be able to relate to this. I mean, shoot, even on a mildly thing like, Twitter wars, or even on a physical thing, like you literally had a stalker when you grew up. It also deals with PTSD, post-traumatic stress trauma, all the way things affect how we think after things happen. How do you deal with people that do things when you know that they have issues, serious mental health issues? It deals with borderline personality disorder in narcissistic control, as far as I'm concerned. And I know psychologists, and I get that those are buzzwords, and I've got no business diagnosing anybody in this scenario with any of that. It's just the things that keep flying at me as I'm watching and as I'm reading and as I'm digesting everything that I learned about this topic, or this, I don't even know what to call it, this event. It's an event. Baby Reindeer is a friggin' event. Okay, it's a series on Netflix. It's a huge controversy on every platform, and it's a couple of lawsuits. So let's just call it an event. That's right. Allegedly, Craven. We're just gonna have to just say, yep. This is right. Hey, After Dark. How are you? Yeah. Oh gosh. All right. So let's get to it. First of all right. Let me introduce you to some people. The actors and the writer, producer, did a play on this, wrote this whole story himself, and then sold it to Netflix as a series. Richard Gadd, who in the actual Baby Reindeer series is the lead character, Donnie Dunn, who he says is loosely based on his life. Netflix has put this out as they kind of use some sketchy words. They say true story, based on a true story in some places, but then they also, in the opening, when they have the character Donnie Dunn writing on the thing, they say a true story. What they should have said is like put it on his screen where he was writing a true story, and then you would understand that Richard Gadd is writing about things that happened in his life through the character Donnie Dunn, and that it won't be actually word for word truth. I'm going to put that out there right away. But on the other hand, it is Richard Gadd's story. And he's a writer, an author, and a creator. And he's allowed creative license. It's a thing. Meet the actress Jessica Gunning, who plays Martha Scott, the alleged stalker in the story, and did a fantastic job. But apparently, the controversy starts with Jessica Gunning doing too damn good a job of being the stalker, and Richard Gadd doing too good a job telling a story that is his truth, in which he's allowed to be creative about and make points. And as he tells it in interviews, it's an emotional story, and these are emotional truths. And sometimes physical facts don't have to happen for emotional truths to be. And that is the statement that gets me in the back of my head every damn time. I'd like to know what you guys think about that. Think about that. Basically, what he's saying is, if she wore a green dress on Tuesday and I write that it was actually a Friday and she was naked, my prerogative. Point is, she was there. This is how I felt. This is basically what happened. You get what I'm saying? I mean, that blew me away, but on the other hand, no one should actually impede on anybody else's privacy or personal space. And I get that. But creative license is a story. Don't we all deal with it every day? Don't we all love it and lap it up? I guess the first question I have for you in the chat to think about is, how much do you care that they said true story and not based on true story? Does the leaving out of that one word make everything else irrelevant? Would you only watch it if you thought it was absolutely true? Would the story be any less compelling, cover any of the other issues, be less true to the writer because it's based on a true story and not like a documentary? It's not promoted as a documentary. It's not. Yes, Mark, it actually is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I got a lot to say about that part of it. I really do. But let's get to it. So here's when they meet in just the basic premise. Richard Gadd befriends a woman at a bar who seems a little down. He offers her a cup of tea. She becomes obsessed with him. So the story goes. Richard Gadd says in real life, the person that the story is based on sent him over 41,000 emails, 350 voice clips, numerous Facebook posts, and text messages. He was stalked relentlessly for 5 years. She showed up at all his shows. When she didn't get the attention she wanted, she was aggressive. She was a heckler. She didn't let him go. He says, she laid hands on him. And that's another thing we get to, like what actually is an assault, what actually is sexually unpermissive behavior. For me, that's it. You come within my 3 steps, you put your hand anywhere on me and you weren't invited. That's where I'm at with it. But I could be a little sensitive on the subject, having a lot more to lose, than a 6'3" guy. That's what I'm going to say about it. But nope. So, thank you. You guys are actually answering my first real good question. Thank you, because you're going to help me sleep tonight. So thank you. So Juju says, nope, I just assume 90% of it is made up for the audience, regardless of phrasing. Thank you. Common sense is a thing. Like, to me, that makes common sense. I hardly believe anything anymore that claims to be true story, based on a true story, or based on true events as actually being true. Exactly. Creative license. Are they not in it to make money and make it more enjoyable for all of us? Okay, so y'all see where I'm going with this. Okay. I've seen the ads for it, nothing more. I hope you get the chance to see it. I do. Can you imagine watching a show and thinking, heck, that lunatic is based on me? Oh, Juju. Oh, Juju. Do you want a link? Do you want a link, boo? Because I have a feeling that we're on the same page with this, although not on the same page with this. Like, we're becoming from different angles, but we're going to end up in the same place. Exactly. Right. Exactly. Don't touch me. Exactly. Bliss. I agree. And welcome. And welcome. Look at the trees. Okay. So thank you for answering my first question. I hope this continues to be a thing. So let me get back to the story. I don't want to ruin it for everybody, but anyway, it's based on a stalker. It's based on his post-traumatic stress. This gentleman goes through all of these things. He's being stalked. He's also trying to build a career as a comedian. He meets a man who's an executive producer, gets into a situation with him based on drugs and all, feels he was violated in some way, gets trauma because of that. He keeps going back. There's a whole big controversy out on the platforms about this portrayed someone who was abused. He in the series, he does get abused by this gentleman. This gentleman takes advantage of him. They make it very clear that that's what happens, but they also show him going back weekend and after weekend, and it progresses. And so there was a lot of heat and a lot of controversy about why would somebody go back? Like, that's just like you're making this look like it's his fault. No, actually, this is an honest portrayal on how you get trapped into these situations. And I'm not saying it's like that for everybody, but the hell, internet, where are you to judge how somebody deals or tells their story about how they dealt with an assault or what they were? I give this writer great credit for the bare bones honesty of he doesn't come off well in this story at all. He is an asshole most of the time. He does the wrong thing most of the time. He makes his own problems most of the time. He deals in dishonesty because he just can't deal with his insecurities or him finding out who he is. And he owns it. And he put it all out there for everybody to see. How dare you accuse him of all this shit? Like, what is wrong with people trying to make something more than what it is? Can this not just be him telling his story? Does it have to represent everything all at once? I was so nagged about this. It's, you know, I'm just saying, okay? He had a lovely girlfriend that he totally messed up with. He didn't tell her about the assault. He just pulled away from her. He didn't talk with her. He felt insecure in some way. He knows he messed up. But he was such a decent person, and she was a decent person. Her mother was he actually lived with her mother the whole time, even after he and his girlfriend broke up. Okay. Then he goes into this whole thing of a fantasy about trans women and is he gay? And then he's been assaulted. He's got trauma and he's trying to figure things out. And he's messing up left and right, and people are getting hurt in his life and himself. And he owns it. He's telling the story that way. Nobody could look at this story and not feel for every single character in the pain that they're all in, including that stalker, okay, who is obviously not a well person and is not portrayed as a well person at all, okay? And he gets into a big mess with her because she made him laugh. She made him feel good because she focused on him so much. And even though he wanted nothing to do with her, he liked that. So he egged it on. And he caused a lot of his own problem. And he owns it in the story. Now I'm talking about the story, not the real life. How much of the way he portrayed it actually happened? That's for him. That's for the real people in his life. But what happened is the actor actually, let's just go one more of these little things over. One of the other controversies, not only are they talking about him portraying an assault victim in a very demeaning way, they're also, what happened is the actor who played Darian, who is the executive producer that was helping him with his writing, that took advantage of him. Okay. And what happened was there's a real character in his in the industry in his life that people assumed that's who he was talking about, and literally real third party people through the internet thinking they're like smarter than anybody are going to figure out started attacking some other person, saying how could you do that to him. Okay, and here's where it starts. People actually interfering in things that doesn't involve them. Can you explain to me what is wrong in your life that you think that you have to attack some executive producer somewhere else who you don't know on behalf of an actor who wrote a story about his life, and you feel you need to go attack that actor, shame him, pull him out in the public and say, this is about you. You're a lousy person. We're going to ruin your career. Okay, Juju, you see where I'm at now? Can you see why this is in my head and I can't get rid of it? There is so much going on in this. And I apologize if my voice gets a little high and it get a little animated, but I am the bear. And if anybody knows the bear, I am a passionate person about things I feel strongly with. And third party interference in things that are none of your effing business is a big issue with me. It ruins people's lives. And you don't have that right. Not without consequence. And one of the consequences is it pisses the bear off. Totally. And this is one of the nagging things. Exactly. It's so, this is true. Like, we don't know it for true, right? Okay. So the actor got like a whole bunch of crap. And then the person that they thought it was got a whole bunch of crap, which led to more problems in regards to this. Okay. Now, there were some other controversies that went out. Richard Gadd has been very honest in his portrayal about his search for his sexuality and how he felt, dealing with his post-traumatic stress trauma, dealing with how he felt about things, including his insecurities and his search for fame and his desire to do anything to get it. He owns all this. He puts it all out there. It's a dirty story. Okay. This is not a feel-good story. No one here looks good, except for maybe Keely's mom. You know, because even Keely, his Donnie Dunn, the character's girlfriend, prior to all of this, other stuff happening, she didn't really seem sympathetic. She just like walked away, didn't ask questions. She was just like, oh, whatever. I don't blame her though. She's young. Who's got time? You don't feel heard. You don't feel like you're seen. You walk away. And she did. But they kind of sort of stayed friends because they cared about each other. And so she is an influence in his life, and it actually comes out to the end where they make amends. I don't think they get back together, but he's still friends with the mom and everybody, and he basically is just a decent person with a lot of flaws, just like every one of us. Yep. Juju, that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. Like, that's one of the main issues, include the caveat that names, locations, and the whole story was changed to protect. Exactly. Not one single name was not one single name was done here. Okay. And actually, when it came out, Richard Gadd made a public statement. Please don't try to I know this is based on a true story and people are going to react, but please don't try to figure out who anybody is. That's not fair. And you don't know. Like, don't do that. Okay. And they did it. I think maybe because he said, like, when he heard that it was going on, he was really upset that people in the industry were being attacked. Okay. Yeah, that was scandal number one. All right. Scandal number two, before we even get to the big lawsuit, this one's going to get to you, is an actress, Reese Lyons, who was who auditioned for the part of the transvestite girlfriend that Richard Gadd wrote into the story as Donnie Dunn. While he was like fascinated, he wanted to learn. He didn't treat her right. He really loved her. He regrets everything that goes on. He loved her as a person. He really messed up. But Basically, Richard Gadd also, at the time that he wrote this and everything, he also was trying to date this actress, Reese Lyons. And there was some stuff going back and forth about whether he was honest enough about how he felt. And then, offering her a part, come, get the part. She was dating him, kind of thought she had the part. He says he never really promised her the part. He wasn't dating her, he wasn't throwing the part out there for the date. And actually, in her thread, which I just put there in the Twitter, she actually, goes through that about how they met and everything. But the whole controversy is, did he, just use her? Did he just do the casting couch kind of thing? Is that kind of what they're alluding to? I don't know. To me, this all sounds like, something is this successful. Baby Reindeer is a box office gold. Like, it's not even out in the movie theaters, but for Netflix, it is the most successful show right now. It is a breaking the ceiling everywhere. Everybody's talking about it on every platform in some way. Okay, whether the lawsuit, whether the controversies, or just as a show itself. It's being talked about nonstop everywhere. Matter of fact, if you're in the chat and you haven't heard of it, I would be surprised. I am surprised that you haven't heard at least the term Baby Reindeer, because I can't seem to go anywhere without knocking into it. But anyway, I'm going to give you her Twitter thread and let you decide for yourself whether or not Richard Gadd is that awful. It actually, nothing ever happened of it. I don't know why anybody would bring it up afterwards. She didn't get the part. The woman who got the part was phenomenal in the part. It is a very heartbreaking part of the story. I'm going to leave you to figure that part out yourself. If you watch it, or if it becomes available later. I am hoping it becomes more widely available. Is there anything not related? Good question, Juju. I would say at this point, no. Okay, because that's only the two scandals that we're gonna get to before we even get to this lawsuit in regards to it. Because now I'm going to introduce you to Fiona Harvey. Fiona Harvey filed a lawsuit against Netflix and Richard Gadd, stating that they maliciously misrepresented her. She wants $170 million. Don't fall off your chairs, buttercups. Yep, she wants $170 million. Because some of the things, now she can't even say everything is inaccurate. Some of the things that they said in this, based on a true story, are not true about her. They're not true about her. And we'll get to the reasons why. But I would like to point out that no one from Netflix or Richard Gadd or associated with this production at all ever stated anywhere, verbally, in writing, or in the show, that Martha Scott, the character played by Jessica Dunning, was based on Fiona Harvey. And Fiona Harvey's evidence for that is, I'm a heavyweight, middle-aged woman from Scotland, and so is Jessica Dunning. Yeah, I'm being quiet on purpose. Let that sink in. So basically, because, okay, well, she does know Richard Gadd. She did meet him in a bar. She did send him some emails. Mm-hmm. No, Juju, you see, Fiona doesn't want to really talk about herself being a stalker, but I'm glad you brought that up, if the shoe fits. But basically, Fiona Harvey is having a tear and suing because people on the, again, third-party interference went and attacked her and said, did you stalk Richard Gadd? Like, because of who she is in Scotland and because of her past and because how the story was played out, that the stalker that was stalking Donnie Dunn, the character, had a history of stalking others. And in the story, it ends up she goes to jail. Okay, but that she had a pattern of stalking other people and that she was just not well. And in the story, she grabs his nutsack while he's pushed against a wall against his will while threatening him. And that was portrayed in the story. Now, I'm not saying that any of that happened. Fiona Harvey is out here saying absolutely none of it happened. But I challenge you all to watch her interview with Piers Morgan, which she went to willingly to go out there and declare that she was baby reindeer and she is the stalker they're portraying. And she doesn't think it's right that they put things in there that aren't true. Nutsack that came out of nowhere. I didn't know what to. I'm sorry, Juju. I didn't know what to say. Like, but that's what she did. She grabbed him. She fondled him. She forcibly against the wall. Hey, Fishner. Hmm. Anyway, Fiona Harvey. Let me give you some links, people. This just gets. Where's my private stuff here? Okay, first up, and first up we have. First up, we have the Fiona Harvey interview with Piers Morgan. Hey, student. Hey, Aaron. Oh, wow. Oh, gosh. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Shill. 10 memberships. Looks like student, Aaron, Bliss Chris, Kayla Kitty, Dog, Mo B, and Stitching with the Sisterlies, and Mallory's Asylum have all been gifted memberships from Shill. Also, West Side Girl Reacts and Jasper. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. There is a link for members only. Now that you're a member, you'll be able to see it, which has the Discord link in it. Even gifted members are allowed membership for the gifted period. You will never be kicked out of the Discord unless you do anything wrong. You may lose some permissions if you're not a paid member after a while, because that's only fair. Some people pay to be there, others don't. But you're not going to get kicked. I can promise you that. So if you want to check it out, let's see if it's worth you. The link is in the memberships, and there you go. Okay. Anyway, that link I just put there is the Piers Morgan interview. Okay. It was interesting to say the least. It was so interesting that I actually had to go find the behavioral panel and actually see if they did an analysis on it. And they actually did. And I don't put a lot onto behavioral science. It is not science. It does have some value in some things, and but it can lead you astray too. I don't put a lot of credit behind it. But it was kind of fascinating that the things that they were talking about were the same things I was thinking as I watched the Piers Morgan interview. So maybe as hard as I try not to be judgmental, maybe like in my head I am quite judgmental, because there was a lot that stuck out to me in this interview. Oh, perhaps Fiona Harvey. Granted, her feelings are hurt. Granted, I don't want anybody to be harassed. And if she's being harassed, third-party people interfering in this bullshit, could you just back up and just get out of the situation? Because you're the problem here. Okay? You're causing this woman distress, not Richard Gadd. Okay? Like, yeah, not the writing of the Netflix story. You people harassing her, you're the problem. All right? If she's got a problem with the story, that might lead more to her somewhat narcissistic control tendencies and maybe borderline personality disorder. I don't know. And I'm not saying she has it. I'm just allegedly. These are just things that pop up at me. Okay. If she's got an issue with people telling their truth, but not like saying what color dress she wore or what was the actual fact about something, but it's not supposed to be a true factual story, well, that's on her. But you third party people interfering in making everything worse. Shame on you. Like, shame on you. Like, shame. I hope you're happy with yourselves. Seriously. Anyway, story gets better. Piers Morgan does this whole thing. She admits she knows him. She admits she even emailed him. She's calling him the problem. He's the stalker. She accuses Netflix and them of ruining her life, and they're going to pay. Basically $170 million worth from what I read in the lawsuit. That's what she wants, okay? And it's really based on nitpicking certain things that aren't actually true about the relationship between her and Richard Gadd, which, again, creative license, it's not a documentary. Documentaries need to be true, factual evidence, right? Right? Um, Based on true stories, does anybody think that that's what 100% true? No. And even from the writer's perspective, if it's autobiography, it's autobiographical. It's from his perspective. And does everybody see things from the same perspective? I mean, we all know two people could be in a room doing the same thing and they're both going to see it just slightly different. Yeah. Do they not both have a right to tell it their way? Yeah, I see it, Bliss, right? And I try not to judge, and I know you don't either. The one thing that Bliss and I have always had in common, and we go in all different circles all over, and we bumped into each other in all different areas of this World Wide Web thing here, Twitter, internet, YouTube, whatever. The one thing that Bliss and I have always had in common is you do you, and I do me, and let's not judge. Let common sense rule. And I admire that, Bliss thing. Let common sense rule. Like, I won't hurt you, you won't hurt me. We're all entitled to our own opinions. But yeah, I'm not trying to judge Fiona Harvey, but yeah, I'm getting some creepy feels. I'm going to admit it. She creeping me out. Okay. Exactly, Bliss. You know, yeah. But anyway, Fiona Harvey is actually just nitpicking here a bit in this interview. And I'm afraid she doesn't come off as well as she thought she would. And I actually think I see her recognizing that through the interview. So I challenge you all to watch the Pierce Morgan interview. And please hit the back of the comments on this video and let's discuss it. Actually, we're going to probably end up discussing this more than once because I can't imagine that after you watch some of this and see it, that you're all not going to have more questions and not going to want to get things out and look at it from different sides and points of view and make some points. And I am. Oh, record, you're judging for me? Thank you. And hello. Oh gosh, please. Okay, I am guilty. Yeah. I did refer to her as a little bit batty, especially, because she thinks that it's her just because the actress that portrayed her was heavy also and talked in a Scottish accent. She's much younger. She's a professional actor in I just thought that was astounding. How judgmental of her, really. Like, mm. But I don't think Jessica Dunning has a stalker background. Maybe, I don't know. I could say something really ridiculous here, like maybe Fiona Harvey is absolutely insulted that she wasn't offered the part of the stalker. She had so much personal experience in it, allegedly, because I have done my research. And although Fiona Harvey is right, in her lawsuit, she's mostly pissed off because in the series, the stalker there goes to jail and previously stalked someone and had a sentence also and had a criminal record. And she's mostly upset that she's being associated as the stalker in here because she doesn't have a criminal record. That's true. She doesn't have a criminal record. She damn well does have a record of stalking, though. She does. Pierce Morgan really did bring this forward. There is a woman named Laura Ray who is the wife of Jimmy Ray, who was an official in in government. Laura Ray hired this woman. This woman, Fiona Harvey, stalked her husband, several other officials. There are other officials that she has actually stalked in government, and it's documented. And just because they all had a policy of treating her like she has a mental disorder, like something seriously wrong with her, and try to do kindly, not press charges, but alert the authorities so they got her some help, which they do have a list that she's not allowed to contact Laura Ray and her family. They did go through and put that through, but they didn't want charges and they didn't want to harass. And as long as, they let the police deal with it to just try to get her to stop and to get her the help that she needed. Okay. Laura Ray and her husband Jimmy Ray have a disabled child that this woman defamed. It's public. There are articles. Go read the Daily Mail, the UK. I could document. I mean, I got tired of actually reading them. There's at least 20 articles I found back when she did all this. She can't say that's not true. She cannot say that she has not stalked anyone. The only thing she can say is she never went to jail for it. Sorry. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not even going to use allegedly when I refer to her as a stalker. We've got 2 documented cases with officials in the country where she lives. We've got documented abuse, slander, racist comments. When I tell you about the lawsuit, how they came back, it's gonna flip you. It's definitely gonna flip you. But this woman is looking with her butt for hurt feels, and I don't blame her. She's being harassed. If people third party interference again, okay, because she can't sue the freaking minions that are causing the pain in her life. She's gonna sue Netflix because they've got the money. Okay, she's gonna sue Netflix because Richard Gere had the nerve to tell his true story. Okay, she can't say she didn't have anything to do with it. She part of that true story. If she don't like the way it was depicted, well, so what? That's his true story. Okay, you didn't come off as, a blonde bombshell with a great career, and he just wanted you. You came off as a stalker who wouldn't take no for an answer, and heckled him and harassed him and made his life miserable. And you know what? He's got that right, does he not? I ask you people, does he not have that right? I don't know. Yeah, they didn't want to out her as a stalker. Exactly. So what are they supposed to do? Ask her to clarify the facts of the story while outing her as the stalker because she clarified the facts of the story. So really, that's one of the things that nags on me. How far are they responsible to go? I mean, we're going to get there. All right. I'm looking at the 2 actresses. Yes, they're both heavy. Yes, they both spoke with a Scottish accent, but you know, I do think Jessica Dunning did a better job at looking a little more off balance. Fiona Harvey presents in most cases as perfectly balanced person until she starts talking, and then you start to notice little things. But I look at her and I say, normal person, you look at the picture of how Jessica Dunning portrayed the stalker, and it's a little more off. Okay. Yes, it is. And is that not done for creative license to tell the story? Did not Netflix want us to feel it, not just imagine it, but to feel it? And don't, when you look at Jessica Dunning, you kind of feel stalker more than when you're looking at this picture of Fiona Harvey. Although those eyes are starting to get to me, I will be honest. Like, she does have a deadpan stare that is just like, she literally looks at me like, come at me, bro. Come at me. She's really freaking. I'm gonna have to take this off. She's freaking me out. Okay. Lawsuit claims. Let's go to the. Shall we just go to the suit? Let's just and then we can get to the semantics. God, God, God. What do I have for you? Well, everything. Here is the Harvey complaint, where she will nitpick her way through everything that happened in the series. And I will bring it up in a second, but I just want to get the links out first. And then we also have Richard Gadd's deposition in support of Netflix. And we also have Netflix's motion to dismiss and strike the whole case. And for not every, this last one, number 4, I realize is not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But the Netflix lawyers actually did a second document of all the legal cases, references, and precedent to support their motion to dismiss and strike. And it's 24 pages long of just legal for all you legal phobes like me, or legal files, whatever you want to call us, those people who may or may not be drinking coffee and reading legal briefs. for the thrill of it, there must be more than I out there. And if you're like that, that one's for you. Okay. It was glorious. It was absolutely glorious. It gave me so much to research. I was just happy. And it actually helped me with other cases. So thank you, Netflix lawyers. You get a gold star for me for the month of August. Okay. So back to the case. I'm gonna pull this down. I'm gonna bring up Fiona's case first, and then I'm gonna talk about Richard Gadd's deposition and what it actually offered. But we're not going to read everything. There's no way we're going to read everything word for word. I just want to do a little bit of comparisons for you guys here, just to get the gist of it. Okay. This was filed back in June, and I did wait for responses. You know, I don't like to do just the actual thing. I will make note that in the actual filing, she's only suing Netflix. But when we get into the deets of it, she blames Richard Gadd for a lot of this. And that's going to be part of the problem. It is a demand for jury. Craven. Yeah, I know Purple. You know what, Shill? I think you might like some of those, some of that references and things like that. Okay. So basically, her first thing is that she's really upset that they said it was a true story in episode 1. Okay. It is a lie told by Netflix, the show's creator, Richard Gadd, out of greed and lust for fame. A lie designed to attract more viewers, get more attention, to make more money, and to viciously destroy the life of plaintiff Fiona Harvey. She actually is accusing the writer of writing this story, selling his own true story, only to hurt her. Ding, bell number 1. Okay. An innocent woman defamed by Netflix and Richard Gadd at a magnitude and scale without precedent. Okay. Okay. This is an action by Fiona Harvey against Netflix Worldwide for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligence, gross negligence, and violations of Harvey's right of publicity arising out of brutal lies defendants told about Harvey to over 50 million people worldwide, including that Harvey is a twice convicted stalker who was sentenced to 5 years in prison, and that Harvey sexually assaulted Gadd. Defendants told these lies and never stopped. Okay, I can't even read the rest, but you get the gist of where this is going. Everything was about her. No one would know it is actually about her if she didn't go on Piers Morgan and say so. If she didn't go to Facebook and to everybody else and say so. I'm going to skip the rest of this, okay? I'm going to go down. This woman actually went to law school but was never a lawyer. She never finished the requirements of, you know how when you're a doctor, you have to go through a residency so you can prove that what you learned in the book and in school is actually what you can apply. Well, they have the same thing where she is, where she actually lives and resides in regards to becoming a lawyer. And she never did become a barrister. She never finished any of it. She is smart. But she's so smart, she's dumb, if you know what I mean. Like, she just didn't finish. Okay. She is quite clever. And she did work for Laura Ray, and it only lasted a couple of weeks. And I want you to hear both of those stories. Okay. I want you to actually listen to the Piers Morgan interview with Fiona Harvey, and then actually in my description, there's actually the one with Laura Ray right after. And I would really like you to listen to both because, well, just in comparison to the stories about what happened in regards to her working at her law firm, it is like night and day. It is. And I realize that there's always two sides to every story. But I want to show you that some of the things that she's doing, I mean, she does jurisdiction, she does everything right. Okay. She talks about Gad being the raider and everything, and that Netflix should have did their due diligence and not let him do this. Okay. She says he started right from the start in episode 1 that he never bought her a cup of, he never gave her a cup of tea because nobody gets anything in life for free. She did meet him at that bar, but he never gave her a thing. Yeah, semantically, she is actually just getting pissed off about that from the start. Okay. And it gets worse. Okay, she goes into every part of this series of what she likes and doesn't like. She actually goes through the comedy stuff. The character Martha, um, to overcome the uninteresting true story of Gad's inability to advance professionally in the London comedy circuit, defendant fabricated the true story of a woman, Martha, that Gad meets at the pub to make Baby Reindeer more captivating. Okay. Every complaint in here is a diss at Richard Gad. She talks about him not having a job, not being successful as a comedian, being a poor writer, that he's ugly. She would never want to shag him. She never came on to him. It was all him. She personally has issues with Richard Gad. It's obvious everywhere. I'm not even going to use the words allegedly. There isn't anything I read that she has put down in ink or that she has said publicly that doesn't exude absolute wanting to ruin Richard Gad's life. Sorry. That's exactly how I see it. And I'm not really apologizing. It's more of a sorry, not sorry. The hang my curtains line, which is done, which is kind of a sexual innuendo kind of thing, where they are, meaning, I want to shag you or something relevant. She says comes from a tweet that she did. Okay. And that he had used it and pulled it up. My curtains are wanting you. My curtains want you and they are ready. But she says it actually comes that the reason that everybody knows that she is Fiona Harvey, is the actual Martha, is because they used that quote in the Netflix series. And back in 2014, Fiona Harvey actually did send a message to Richard Gad saying, my curtains need hung badly. Okay. So, okay, do you see? Is your mind blown? She's suing him for using a quote that she actually said. So he was stalked by her sexually. She wouldn't leave him alone. He never names her. She now comes out there and shows the world in a lawsuit that she actually did it. People actually start searching into her and found this apparently because she says that within days of the release of Baby Reindeer, through no fault of her own, people found out who she was. That the message below are just some of the Facebook names. Now, she's famous on Facebook for being a pain in the ass. She's already got 2 stalking cases. And there isn't anybody in the area that doesn't look at her with like a little, like, don't mess with Fiona, you'll be sorry. Okay. But of course, it's all Richard Gad's fault for the tweet that she made in 2014 that he actually put with misspelling and everything on a computer screen. And she just says that people automatically associated that with her. This is some of the third-party interference, like, are you Martha Scott? You're insane. Hey, Martha, are you the real Martha from Baby Reindeer? Have you been convicted of harassment and stalking on Richard Gad? You are a crazy stalker. Hi, sorry. Did you sexually harass and stalk Richard Gad? This is the kind of stuff that she dealt with. Okay. And although I really do feel for her that nobody should be harassed like this, like it's really none of their business. Richard Gad didn't say it was her. You shouldn't be there trying to like hold a torch for him or defend him in any way. He's not asking you to. As a matter of fact, he came out publicly and asked everybody not to do this kind of shit, but you did. And now you're messing with his livelihood, Netflix's livelihood, and her mental health and livelihood. I'll be all proud of yourself, you third-party wankers. Popular internet forums such as Reddit and TikTok had thousands of users identify and discussing Harvey as the real Martha, because they went back and they found all the same articles that I was able to find that actually show that you had a little bit of contentious behavior here, Martha. Not Martha, Fiona. Sorry. All right. So she says that, here she's going to say that because they look similar and everything, that he purposely did this so that people could figure out. She's literally, through this whole lawsuit, says that Netflix didn't stop Richard Gadd from purposely attacking her in this very subtle, not so subtle way, in this very passive aggressive way. Never said her name, but put all her crap out there. Yeah, he put all her crap out there because it's his crap. Right? It's his crap. You did it to him. Does he have no rights to talk about it? Just because you didn't go to jail means he doesn't get to tell his side? Where is that fair? I know. I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't I? Anyway, it goes on and a gone and a gone and a gone and a gone. And it just picks up every scene and just points it out like that's not really happened because this happened. She said that she never attacked him and she never smashed a glass bottle over Richard Gadd's head, gouging his eyes, or physically attacked him in any way. I would like to ask the plaintiff here, like if I was the Netflix attorney, and I'm sure they have in their actual motion to dismiss, could you please show me where we said that was you? Could you please show me where we said Fiona Harvey did this to Richard Gadd? No, what we said is Martha Scott, the character, did it to Donnie Dunn, the character, loosely based on Richard Gadd's life. Martha Scott, loosely based on a stalker incident that he had to deal with. And actually, Richard has come forth and did interviews that said that the stalker is actually based on multiple people that have done things like this to him. I can see that. Because I can't see, after dealing with somebody like Fiona Harvey, like just through the interactions that are going on the internet and everything, Facebook, this filing of this lawsuit, why would Richard Gadd purposely try to prod the tiger to bring something like this back into his life, to ruin it? Negligence. Defendants owed Harvey a duty of care to accurately represent her in Baby Reindeer, which they billed as true, to confirm the details of the allegations made about her in Baby Reindeer is true. She is saying that Netflix needed to question everything Richard Gadd said about the stalker, even though Richard Gadd didn't tell Netflix that Fiona Harvey was the stalker. This is this clause right here is under the assumption that they were actually speaking about Fiona Harvey. This actually tells me that a lot of this could be true. And she just doesn't want it out there. Because there's a lot of the story that she's not even pushing back on. It's only about having an actual criminal accusation against her and actually having a criminal record, or the sexual assault. And those are both criminal offenses. And she's very, very touchy about that, as anyone would be. They don't want to be associated with those things if they're not true. And I get that. But nowhere in this show, and I watched it twice, did I ever hear them say it was her. Nor did I ever believe that everything that happened was absolutely true. They all acted like we're third graders and we can't tell. Harvey alleges each of the aforementioned as everything. She just says that they just went out of their way. That's the whole thing. Well, basically, she wants a lot of money. Let me just say, like right here. She wants judgment against defendants for actual damages, to some to be determined at trial, but it's believed to exceed $50 million, exclusive of legal fees, costs, and statutory interest. Judgment against defendants for compensatory damages in the maximum allowed by law, an amount to exceed $50 million. Judgment against defendants for all profits from Baby Reindeer in the maximum amount allowed by law, in an amount to exceed $50 million. Right, we're at $150 million now. and judgment against defendants for punitive damages in the maximum amount allowed under law and believed to exceed $20 million. Pre-judgment interest at the legally prescribed rate from the date of violations until judgment, as well as post-judgment interest as applicable. Also give me my attorney fees. Such other general relief to Harvey is just entitled. Wow. 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 One other legal document. I'm just all right. For those of you interested, when you go to Richard Gadd's statement, he's going to his deposition, and to support Netflix, is in evidence to push back with samples of all of the emails. They also, for people that she says maliciously want to attack her, they could have put everything out. But those lawyers and Richard Gadd, who are not trying to hurt anybody, but want to tell his true story, which he doesn't come off with great either, they actually put the phone calls and the stuff that could really damn her under seal and petitioned the court to submit their evidence under seal to not further damage this woman who is out there in the public giving interviews, writing statements, and talking from the top of the mountain about the fact that she is baby reindeer. This just blows me away. Here they are getting sued for $170 million. They got lawyers on top of lawyers on top of lawyers. And they sealed the most damaging evidence to protect her. However, in his actual deposition, which is open file, and people can pay for it on Pacer. Those of you that I gave the link to, you can look at it, but I watermarked it. I really don't want anybody else using it for anything besides personal reading. That's evident, but I want you to have the facts. And that's why I get these things, because I want you to have all the information like I do. So you don't think I'm just sitting up here bloviating. And you can actually see maybe some of the things I'm coming to and actually push back on some of the points I might be missing, or some of the points I might be taking too seriously that really aren't a big deal. I enjoy the discourse. That's what I'm here for. This case is crazy. I've got them being accused of everything. Like they attacked the little person. Like it's like the big corporation came out and they don't care what happens to the little person, and they're letting this writer destroy my life, and he's doing it on purpose, and you're actually facilitating it, and you need to pay. And then, well, then you've got the defendants, Netflix, all the money in the world, and they lock up the evidence that would actually get all this thrown out of court in a second. Well, now, thankfully, the judge is going to be able to see all this. It's part of the affidavits. And the motion to dismiss is basically surrounded around several cases of creative license. We said it was based on a true story. Did we actually say that this is his truth? This is, no matter how you want to frame it in words, Richard Gadd wrote this story from his life based on his truth. Now, people have issues with the statement, their truth, his truth, because is it the actual fact of the matter? No, it always involves a personal perspective of something and some emotional view of it. And I get why they don't like those words, my truth, because it doesn't really mean truth. It means that person's perspective of it, not necessarily the truth, because there's also anyone else who was involved in it over here and their perspective of it. And the two could be different. They could have lots of common things, and there could be several things that are different about it. I mean, the Martha Scott character should feel that if she's in a relationship with Richard Gadd, not Richard Gadd, but the character Donnie Dung, which at the time she did, and she was upset about being treated, because he went out with somebody else, but she thought they were in a relationship, but he didn't. And she backed him up on the wall and put her hand on the junk that she felt she was entitled to. He feels sexually assaulted. She feels like that was just like, dude, like, why not me? Whatever we all feel about it, we all have our own perspective of it, but they both obviously have a different opinion about it. And so does Fiona Harvey now that she's suing about it. She didn't want to be depicted as someone who was sexually aggressive, or that somebody that went after Richard Gadd after all of the horrible things. And I'm talking for years that she has said about him. She has said tons of things about him. She has actually gone on Piers Morgan and insulted him as a comedian, as a writer. Just get a job. Like, I don't sleep with men like that. I only sleep with men with jobs. I'm not kidding you not. Watch the interview. She takes every dig she can. Well, she's pissed that he wrote this about his life while she's out there doing interviews, trashing him left and right. And she would have a lot to say about him suing her for that, wouldn't he? Yeah, wouldn't she? Yeah. If the shoe was on the other foot. Yeah. No one would know if she wasn't making such a big deal about this. You know, I get seeing all that stuff on Facebook must have been horrendous. Okay. So ignore it. Why would you make it true? Why would you go out there and confirm it with everybody? Looking for a payday, maybe? This is a failed official, ran for office, not really getting along well with others from everything I can see in all of the situations that she's been in. And that's all personal, and I don't really want to go there. But I do have an issue with people doing frivolous lawsuits to ruin people's lives to get money for some perceived wrong that they perpetrated. I mean, if she feels wronged, it's because she's helping it. She is. I don't know. You may not agree with me, and you're allowed, but that's where I am with that one. Let me bring this other up. I've got more on these. I want to talk to you guys about. Believe it or not, that's not all of it. Because in preparing for these are some of the things. Okay, forget the sources. I gave you the documents. And we can go over legally the documents and the standings as these things happen when we get a chance to digest it. But the last thing I wanted to do tonight was come up here and actually read 4 different legal documents, to you guys. So we shall go to the source for the claims. Okay. But what I really want to talk about, okay, is that, first of all, the status on all of that. The court did grant that they will have a hearing on August, that the deadline for the plaintiff to go against the motion to dismiss is August 26th, just a few days from now. I will make that available in the Discord for everyone when it becomes available, so that we're able to talk about it later. But also, the defendant's deadline to file replies in support of the special motion to strike, motion to dismiss, will be September 3rd, because on September 16th, soon, there will be a hearing on the defendant's special motion to strike and motion to dismiss complaint. Yep. But there's also a scheduling conference on September 9th. But by September 16th, we're going to know if this is going to be a valid case or not. Okay. And so then we'll know if we're setting up a playlist and we're going to follow it point by point. But in the meantime, there are other things that, besides the lawsuit, that really stuck on me. Okay. Like the points to consider on both sides. Yeah, that's a cracked line before there. Because these are the things that keep coming up to me. The rules over here on defamation. We all know that it's not defamation if it's true. Can Fiona Harvey say that she's not a stalker? Can Fiona Harvey say that she didn't make Richard Gadd feel like he was being stalked? Unfair characterization. It's a characterization, okay? I'm sure everyone in the chat could think of 10 or 12 or 50, 60,000 things to say about me that I might not like. And it might not be unfair in my perspective of it, but do you have a right to say it? Yeah, you do. He's allowed to have his perception of how she is in his life. He's allowed to paint it any way he wants. And he said he wasn't painting it on her, but on the emotional results of being stalked and the trauma he went through, not only with the stalking, but the sexual abuse. And he put this all into the character, who is probably a conglomeration of multiple people, stresses, and incidences. Not attuned. I mean, we all know in writing a story in Netflix in production, right? Is it not reasonable that a story that involves 50 people has to be drilled down? Like 50 people in 50 different events can be drilled down to 3 people and they all did the events. And that's good storytelling, right? That keeps the plot going and we keeps us watching and it leads us from dot to dot to dot to dot. You know, happens all the time. Happens all the time. That's just how it is. That's entertainment. That's the industry. Monetary consequences. Fiona Harvey says that, who was unemployed at the time this happened, says that now she can't get a job because people know that she's the Gad stalker. People knew that before. You live in a small area where he was. You did it right in public with everybody. Everybody talked about it. They know what they know. If they know anything else or assume anything else, it's because you're out here talking about it. What monetary consequence was there actually to Fiona Harvey in regards to this? She didn't get security. She's not holed up somewhere and moved. She didn't lose anything. She just thinks that people thinking that she has a criminal record will prevent her from getting a job, when they actually will find out that she doesn't have a criminal record, and it would be discriminatory. And they wouldn't be able to do that to her. She says she's being harassed. It is not Netflix or Richard Gad that is harassing her. Can we all agree on that? Who's harassing Fiona Harvey? Who indeed is harassing Fiona Harvey? Because I'll tell you, it's not Netflix by making money, and it's not Richard Gad by telling his story. It's third-party interference and her inclination that that could lead to a payday, perhaps. She says that Netflix and Richard Gad violated her privacy. Where? Did they put her name in the credits? Did they put her house in there? You know, did they inadvertently leak her address, her phone number, her email address? Did they say it was her? Who's to blame here for how Fiona Harvey feels right now? I mean, yes, she's probably embarrassed that Richard Gad is telling his story. She doesn't come off very well. And depending on these narcissistic control issues that I do see in the conversation with Pierce Morgan, I'm sorry, I just have to say it because I see it. And actually, I'm saying it to see if you guys see it too. Not to put it in your head, but like push back on me if you think I'm making too much of it. But I really think that it's a control issue here. Seriously, she wants to control how she is perceived in this story. And she wanted them to come to her and have input. But it's really the third party interference is causing most of the problem, in my humble opinion, which is not so humble right now. Like, I'm adamant about this. Okay. On the other side, we've got creative license. How far does that go? The fact that they mentioned no names in the story, that they say that it's loosely based on actual incidents and that creative license has been taken. But they do say that towards the end, and it's not how it opens. And they do leave out the word based a couple of times when they talk about it being a true story. And actually, when the producers went on record to defend, they said they will defend Richard Gad's right to tell a true story anyway, his way. He didn't mention any names, and it's his story to tell, and he has a right to tell that story. And that they don't have to protect the people in that story if they come off bad. It's his story. And as long as it's the majority of it is true, nothing illegal has really happened here. Is Richard Gad and Netflix being harassed at this point? People are digging up everything they can about Richard Gad and every harsh word he said about anybody. in evidence the casting couch story. One incidence of somebody not getting a job that he did date, and all of a sudden he's a cat. He's Harvey Weinstein. You know, one incident. Okay, evidence of the events. Richard Gadd can prove he got those emails, in those voicemails, in that Facebook, and he could prove contact. He could prove events, making it a somewhat true story. And the fact on the defendant's side that the plaintiff herself has confirmed her identity to the whole world, not them. Who caused the real issue here? All these damn she had multiple email accounts. She admitted on Pierce Morgan's, she being Fiona Harvey, admitted on Pierce Morgan that at no time does she have less than 2 phones. Okay. And she might have 4 to 6 email accounts at any given time. She has 2 at all times. And there was actually a scene in the show that when he went to her house, she had a whole drawer full of cell phones, and that kind of made him curious. I think he was making it more than it was, but she actually admitted on Piers Morgan that she had at least 2 at all times. And she was like, "So doesn't everybody?" And I'm like, "Why do you need 2 phones?" You know? Right. Her responses are not helping the way she came off, Juju. I agree. She could have just kept quiet. She could have, you know. But she didn't. hmm She didn't. So, like, these were the things that just kept bothering me. And I was wondering, like, how many of these things came out to you? And what I want to leave everybody with, not that I'm ending it right away, because I have a few more things to say, but what really nags at me all the time, the big question is, where is the responsibility here? Is it with Richard Gadd? How responsible is he to protect the people that he tells stories about that actually were in his life if he tells an autobiography? I mean, when you write an autobiography, not everybody's going to look good. What do you owe them? Do you owe them? What responsibility does Netflix really have to an unnamed person in someone else's life that a story is based on? Netflix is an industry to make money. Sure, they had the money to investigate his story. Did they have the responsibility to do it? It's creative license. It's not illegal to tell your story. Fiona Harvey's responsibility. Here it gets a little dicey. She doesn't really have any responsibility. She could have kept quiet. What she has is some accountability. She needs to take accountability for her actions. The way she gets labeled is the way people see things. And her coming out in public and confirming everything really just made her look worse. And it made me wonder, why? Why? What do you want out of it? And are you just now fixated on Richard Gadd again? And is Richard Gadd got a serious problem? Because he's now on your radar again. And you don't like to lose. I read the stalking reports on the other people you stalked. 5 years plus, each of them, well documented. And it looks like Richard Gadd documented it too. He saved everything. And here's my question. She says she only sent him a handful of emails. He says she sent 41,000. He documented quite a few of them in his deposition. In the deposition itself, there are quotes. There were exhibits of all of them. There are actual YouTube videos that show them all, and we'll read them, but they're all quite lengthy. I will make you a note of these. Richard Gadd never answered a single email, and yet they kept coming. They kept coming for 5 years or 3 years. What does that tell you? Not one answer to an email. And he has the emails. And he just submitted them all to the court. I don't think that Netflix would put the money behind backing Richard Gadd if he didn't produce the emails, the phone messages, and the proof that he was stalked. Nobody wants to get into a $170 million lawsuit. Even a big company like Netflix, who everybody says, oh, poor Netflix, they can afford to lose it. But they've got to pay these attorneys and they've got to fight for their reputation, because who's going to want to sell them stories if they don't get back for doing it? Where does creative license, like, how is that going to get impacted if Fiona Harvey is allowed to get away with this? Because of third party interference. Who wouldn't it be nice if we could just freaking retroactively sue every single person that like sent her a Facebook message that was none of their damn business? Like, you know what? If you're calling her names and you're making her feel bad and you're doing all this shit and you're butting in where you don't belong, hey, you know, maybe we could retroactively sue you for hurting her feelings. Yeah, I know that's silly. I know that's silly. Let me look at the chat. I'll take this back down. Did he mark them as spam? No. In the actual series, it is one message she sent that's actual a threat that gets charges placed against her, because she was actually threatened in the series. She went so far as to threaten to out him as gay or being attacked or having the essay assault by the gentleman to his parents. And he was pretty close to his parents. He didn't want to disappoint them. He was scared. He finally went to the police with this threat. In the charges were ensued, and that's what she pled guilty through and ended up in another claim of a lawsuit, claim of criminal charges and actually jail time and whatever. Her complaint, though, Fiona Harvey, is that throughout they say that Richard Gadd wrote it, that Donnie Dunn is looking through the computer and finds out that she's a convicted stalker with a criminal record of stalking. And there was an article, and it is a true article, and it's about another stalker who was convicted, not even Fiona Harvey. Richard Gadd has been pretty adamant that the character of Martha Scott is written in such a way that the actual stalker would never think it was her. And I'm thinking there's other person involved in this that Richard Gadd is not naming, and he doesn't want to. And Fiona Harvey is just taking it upon herself because of this narcissistic compulsion that, I'm sorry, everything in the world is about her, that it was. I mean, there are similarities. She did stalk an MP. Like, she did stalk the family of a councilman, okay, of an official. She did then stalk somebody else that she was running in a party against, and she did have some pretty racist comments documented through very clear public hearings on issues in her area for her councils and stuff like that, you know, political things. Yeah, she's been quoted. I mean, people have issues with her, not just Richard Gadd. That just got me thinking about streamlining stalking using ChatGPT. I'm wondering how she did it, because that's an awful lot of emails. He says 41,000, you know. And somebody did the math and told me like 41,000 was close to 38 emails a day if it was 3 years. You know, I've been binging on the case. Yep, me too. I have no doubt that even if that she's even at the actual stalker. I mean, you know, based on how she's been conducting herself, I would say she's only making a lot of the statements truer, or leading that people would believe it. You know, was someone else part of her story would have been used in the story itself? We don't know. Like, he's not saying. I know that the girlfriend represented in the actual he dates a transgender woman, and that person is not based on anybody in real life. So they say, because the person he tried to date afterwards that actually wanted to audition for the part, that was well after he wrote this and well after the events had happened. So there is a lot that he added into the story about how he felt and what he was going through. Um, I doubt that every interaction with his girlfriend in the actual series Keely actually happened. I doubt every conversation with the mom Liz actually happened. I doubt actually every event with the character Darian, the executive producer, ever happened, or the mates at the bar or anything else. I doubt all of it is actually word for word, tit for tat. Of course I do. It's supposed to be an autobiographical, based on an autobiography play that he did in London on his own life, and then it was polished up in writing style and sold to Netflix as a series by Richard Gere, like, as a project, and they liked it. And you know what? I am absolutely thrilled that they did it, because the amount of issues that they tried to address here, successfully humanizing them from the awful points of it, not the good, feel good parts where, the ending is kind of weird. You wonder if he's actually really okay. He does get to a better place. But we watched him being an effed up individual from A to Z the whole time. And it's all out there. Failed career, insecurities, not treating people right, never saying how he actually feels, wanting fame and fortune and to be liked over everything. He's honest about it. And it's something I really like. And I just, I really like. Hey, Mrs. Cassandra. Yeah, we're still live. I'm going to be ending soon. This definitely was something I had to cross off the list. I keep putting it off. And it's not exactly totally legal. It's also controversy. It's also just talking about an excellent show that I just found as a great commentary on just messed up situations in general, and how people are so human about it, and how damage happens, and how you handle that damage is an individual process. You know, I'm glad. You know what, Juju? I can't wait to talk to you after you watch it. Um, Hey, thanks for the order there, Mrs. C. You know what, Craven? That's the thing. I'm going to be ending soon, but it's going to be 40 minutes later. Well, I do actually have a 30 minutes before it's 2 hours, but maybe I'll end it within the next 5, 10, 15. Because I'm sorry, this subject is just. I wish that there was somebody. Is there anyone in the chat that actually saw? Because I want to ask a question. Juju has this one. Oh, that I want to bring up. Let me check. Hey, Tony, it's nice to see you. Is there any claim relating to the TV guy who sexually assaulted him? No, because even in the series, he eventually takes responsibility for the fact that he kept going back, knowing what was happening. The guy knew what was happening, and that it eventually led to a permissive, what he felt the guy might have felt permission. He took a lot of blame on himself, but I have not found a lawsuit. Although there is a controversy, Tony, that third-party interferers all over the internet, are armchair sleuths that think they've got to butt into everybody else's business, tried to identify this executive producer. And they found somebody that Richard Gere had worked with and decided it was him and started harassing him. Yeah, even though it's the person, that he says it happened. He says he has post-traumatic stress. It dealt to some sexuality issues with him, that he had actually admits to having prior. It dealt with it. I mean, it broke him and his girlfriend up because he never told his girlfriend about it, and it messed up his life. But there's no lawsuit. He never prosecuted. He never went after the person who did it. Because we're talking about years before he dealt with it, and he dealt with it. Okay. And in the actual series, he goes back and confronts the guy and they talk about it. And then he leaves and he actually goes and talks to the girlfriend about it. And, he actually starts admitting what happened and starts dealing with everything. And it's not like, I'm going to sue you and I hate your guts. It's like, it was an adult conversation about, boundaries were crossed and I don't know who messed up first or why I didn't say any, like that kind of a conversation. He didn't take it all on himself. He did say that the guy should have picked up on clues that it wasn't cool, but no, there was no actual lawsuit about that. The TV guy, none. But it sounds like you saw it. Did you see it? Like, did anybody see it? Oh my god. I was looking for this comment from Juju that I saw that I wanted to put up. It was a little while back. And then Tony's caught my eye. Where is this? Okay. Juju said, also, at what point does that trigger something in your email? Ma'am, you have sent an exorbitant amount of emails to this person. Are you okay? Is he okay? This is when Big Brother would be beneficial, Juju, because I'm with you on this one. I mean, we've got Chat GPT, right? I think we should all install this thing, because we all depend on people around us to tell us, like, you're being a bit much. Just today, someone very close to me said to me, I hear what you're saying, but you're making way too much of that. You need to let it go. And I appreciated that. And I wish that this person's email sender would have done that for them. You are really being a bit excessive there. Just back off. But we have to depend on the people in our lives. And the sad point is, Juju, is that on this part, I feel for Fiona Harvey. I don't think she has anybody in her life that's going to tell her about this. That 41,000 emails is excessive. And I don't think if they did tell her that she would welcome the information or think that they were trying to help her. They'd probably get attacked and get put on a list. Wait a minute, what's this, Bliss? Like, are you sure you want to tweet this? Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't it be nice if a little voice came out and said, yo, you want to read that again? Juju says, wait a minute, I'll tell her. Juju, don't be that third party interferer. Don't make me write about you. Don't make me do a stream about you. You'll offer her a cup of tea. You see the ridiculousness of it that I do, that I just can't wrap my head around these. Like, can you all see why this has been nagging at me? Or come on, you could be honest. Am I making too much of this? Is this not like a whole ball of wax that like shouldn't be a ball of wax? Like, it should not be. This should not. I was more wondering if the TV exec had brought a case against. Oh no, he did not. No, he didn't. He did not. There's not a case that I found yet, but I'm going to double check because I did not look today or yesterday for new cases. But as far as I heard, he was getting harassed, and there were some statements made by Richard Gadd and everybody about like, nope, that's like not like that's just wrong. You're making assumptions. Like, leave people alone. And repeatedly they have come out and said, would you stop trying to figure out who everybody is? This is loosely based. There's creative license take. These are made up characters. They are not real people. Stop it. They're loosely based. I mean, even the Donnie Dunn character, who's a comedian and a bartender, just like Richard Gadd was, and it is based on his story. It's based on him, but not everything he says and does is something he said and did. Same thing. The guy who plays the Darien character said that he he had creative license to play him anyway. It was the actual event that they were talking about, not the actual character. Okay, so I have to look more, but there hasn't been any other suit against Richard Gere or Netflix by that other TV exec person that got a lot of harassment. And there's not been a suit from the actress either who made the big Twitter thing either. Claire, what's your question for those of us who saw it? Oh, did you see it, Bliss? Okay. First question is, do you think I'm making too much of this? Like about how it's depicted in reality, like the humanity of it? Because it really spoke to me. And I just wanted to get another perspective because it actually haunts me, the humanistic part of it for all the characters. Um, Richard Gadd just kind of hit on something there about how people do things for different reasons, and not everybody's okay. As a matter of fact, nobody's okay. There's nobody okay in this story, you know? And I don't know. That's what I took away from it, and it's really kind of haunted me because the humanity of it, the oh my god, the real being able to really put yourself in that situation. Tony says, I think that's the root of the problem. People like telling others the blunt truth, then they when they know it will affect them so negatively. True. I do believe in truth. I mean, hurt me with the truth. Don't lie to me with, don't lie to me trying to be kind. I would rather be hurt with the truth. But there is a way to do it, and I think it's, the difference between malice and intent in, actual care and understanding. Bliss says, I don't think so. I personally waited so long for someone I actually know to discuss this. So much so I gave up on it. And then I saw you go live. Thank you, Bliss, because it has haunted me. Okay. And I didn't watch it alone, but I haven't been able to let it go. So many things about the human part of it that just resonated. And I'd love to talk to you more about it. Maybe we could get together and discuss it. Yeah. You know what? Your hubs and my boo definitely like they would be in a club. Like, don't let those women talk about this anymore. I kept putting this off and I'd worked on it so much, and it's like in the back of my head over and over, little things that are nagging about me. One of my issues is third party interference. I hate that. You know, you and BX talked about it a bit, and I know I would love that, Bliss. Get together with me. I do library chats and I do them any time of the day or night. If you want to just sit and just do a review of the show itself and how it hit you, if you're open for it, like let's do that. Or if you want to do it privately, like I'm cool because that's how obsessed I am about this right now. And I admit it to everybody. I'll probably drive people crazy. There is so much involved in this show. Yeah. Gad's problem was that he couldn't tell her the truth because he knew that her reaction would be. It was easier to carry on the lie, but once it started, it spiraled out of control. This is true. And he also admitted adamantly right there in the show that it made him feel good to have her pay so much attention to him. And he loved her laugh. And he was trying to be a comedian. And he was bombing out. And she laughed at everything he said and looked at him and wanted his attention and just fawned over him, and it made him feel good. It made him feel so good that even though he didn't really want anything to do with her that way, he let her believe whatever she wanted. He let her be in that little bubble of smile, okay? And because it made him feel good. And he didn't have the guts then when it got really crazy to say it's not like that. He would say we're friends and he would say little things, but he never really got to the point because also he was getting afraid. She was starting to push back in ways that were a bit terrifying. She would say little things. Oh, a Twitter space is a good idea. That's where everybody can come in and talk, right? Bliss, we could just like yeah, we'll try to organize something. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah. But Tony, you're right. He knew that she wasn't well, and he knew that, in the beginning he felt sorry for her. That's why he gave her the tea. She walked in there like a sad sack without a friend in the world. Are girlfriends just stalkers that are not too bad to be around? The Not all girlfriends, although I do like to spend time with my boo. I like all my time with my boo, but I don't think that makes me a stalker. I'm sure he somewhere, and I don't know exactly where, what he's doing at this moment, and I'm cool with it. I don't have a camera on him or an alarm or like a stun cough. That's not right, Liam. Like, no, women aren't really stalkers. I've actually think that men can be stalkerish themselves. Yeah. Someday I'll tell you a story. Hmm. But we all have some kind of story with maybe not a personal relationship, man, woman, 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 man, man, whatever, romantic. We might have a friend that was a little too personal space violating, you know, crossing boundaries all the time, making you responsible for things you don't necessarily feel responsible for. Haven't we all got a little uncomfortable in these situations? And what do we do about it? And where are the responsibilities and the boundaries? You know, if you know somebody's mentally unwell, how much leeway do you give them? Because they're mentally unwell, they're allowed to violate your personal space? Hmm? The you know the hound you, harass you, you know yeah, all of these questions, when I talk about negging at the back of my head, all of it, all of it. And also the criticism that baby reindeer actually received for how they portrayed a victim actually perpetrating their own crime against themselves. They literally said that portraying Donnie Dunn going back to the TV executive producers place every weekend to do drugs, hang out with him, and then stuff would happen. And then him waking up, like, knowing things had happened, but not being great about it. But he kept going back weekend after weekend because for him, it's like, this is his end, this is his career, this is his shot. And like, is it really that bad? What happened? Did it really happen? Like, what's going on? Like, I'm curious anyway, because he was going through a thing. Okay. He was going through an issue about what he was interested in sexually and what he wasn't. Okay. And so, that bothered me too. The way the internet just came on him for that. It said he was victim. He was actually making it like it was like he was to blame for everything that happened to him, but they weren't. They actually showed a real complicated situation where there was no right or wrong answer in how it was handled. The human part of it. We're all fallible. No one in this show comes off great. Fallible, making mistakes, doing the wrong thing, trying to do better, failing miserably, not giving a shit, violating people. I, Listen, it was real. That's what I got to say. It was gritty, real, and it affected me because I couldn't push back on any of it. I was like, yep, probably happens that way. Probably happens that way. Yep, I can see that. It's almost like Stockholm syndrome, except for he actively took responsibility for the fact that he wanted a career and he wanted an in. And he felt like that was it, Tony. Like, I have to give them credit because he actually took accountability for that, putting himself in that situation. Yeah, we all have those stories, don't we, Craven, on exes in some way, whether married or in a relationship or even some friendships. Um, Yeah. And I feel for everybody. And we all handle it differently, right? And we all take accountability or not in certain ways. We all feel like it's them or us. But it's a situation that involves, everybody it involves. And everybody has some accountability for it or not. And actually, the way we look at it now, when you think about it, is probably totally different about how we felt at the time. When you look back, right? It was a while ago, 19 years worth. Craven, well, that's a long time, and I'm sure you felt different, at different points of it, you know. But that's why I wanted to have the conversation. So I'm gonna leave it there. We're gonna talk about this again. I look forward, Bliss. Like I said, let's get together and see about that. Juju, after you watch it, I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Anybody that reads the legal documents and has any questions, We will cover the legal case again, because after that hearing, I'm going to wait until after that hearing because I want to see if this actually gets dismissed. But I'll be honest, I'm putting a nickel bet on it now that it doesn't have merit, because they're actually trying to put responsibility on a network that is just a little too much. I mean, creative license is the thing. Okay. And they didn't mention her name. She did. And third-party interference that she can't sue. To me, it looks like a money grab, and it looks like another way to harass Richard Gadd, actually. For all we know, let me end with this. For all we know, Fiona Harvey is on the payroll as the best publicity ever for Baby Reindeer. We have no idea whether they're paying her to do this or not. Like, that's not out there. And that's rumors, speculation. I just made that up. Don't anybody print that like it's a fact. I'm just saying, wouldn't that be a kick in the ass if we found out later that Netflix actually hired her to drum up more? It's not good enough to be at the top of the billboard for right now. They got to get it all. So they hire somebody to come out here and do this. But actually, there's a bunch of facts about her being a controversial person on her own. I doubt they could have filled the internet with all of it that quick. Crazier things have happened, though. So, you know what I say? Never say never. You know, hey, never say never. All right, everybody. Good night. Thank you for being here tonight on an off night and for very long, as we talked about some incredibly complicated and convoluted issues. So, like I said, I'm always here. Hit the back of the comments, please, with anything else you want to say about it, discuss, or ask questions, And one more comment, because this one actually, I feel the same. Tony says, I give him kudos for his honesty and how he takes responsibility for his actions. And I can see how it could be a way to take back control, but was screaming it a good idea. Exactly. But it's what he does for a living. So why not? Like, right? I thought the same thing. I was feeling at the end of it happy that he was able to heal and move forward, and that this was part of the process. And if he wanted to be a writer and a comedian and he wanted to be in the industry, this is the vehicle he used to take back control and make money on it. And if it is his way of showing all of the people that hurt him in his life, the stalker, the abuser, anyone who misunderstood him, anyone who hurt anybody else in his family, if it was his way of taking back control and saying, here you are, I'm just fine, I'm moving on, and I'm going to make money on your foul asses. I'll give him even extra credit for that one. I'm sorry, because I could see myself doing the same thing. What is the best revenge against people who do you wrong, who try to tear you down, who lie on you, spread rumors, do whatever? Just keep going on. Be you and keep moving forward and be successful at it. That really pisses them off. And I give them credit for it. Really do. All right. Now I'm really going. Thank you, everyone. I really did appreciate your input on this. And Paula, Paula, I didn't get to say hi. I see you now in the chat. I'm so sorry, Paula. I'm so sorry I didn't get to talk with you more. I'm going to go back and check some of your comments, because you always have excellent ones, And I will see everybody. Anybody that got a temporary membership, don't forget, to hit that back of that membership. Anybody who collaborates with me, you also, if you're not already in there, hit me up, because you can be in there. I'm sorry it's a private server, people, but I try to keep it to all of the shows that we're doing. There's a lot of legal information in there and stuff like that. It's a perk of membership. So I'm trying to be fair to the members too. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to do member only videos and things like that. And they deserve something, So yeah. Well, thanks for understanding. I'm not trying to be exclusionary. I'm trying to be in the middle somewhere, like usual. Okay. All right. Good night, everybody.